Hello, I'm Adam Smith and welcome to AIA Rethink Healthy, where we're having a special discussion all about diabetes. And I'm delighted to say we've got three men expertly placed on our panel today. First up, a man that needs no introduction. He is a Spurs legend, is Gary Mabbutt. Gary, great to have you alongside us.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Yeah, and alongside you, Andre Hermans, who is an AIA expert. Andre, you're going to be delving deep into the world of diabetes. So again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And alongside him, Panos Markakis, who is, of course, Spurs nutritionist. Discussions like this are so important to normalise the condition and to prevent the stigma as well. I think it brings us nicely on to Andre. Tell us about why this discussion on diabetes is so important and why it's such an issue in Asia specifically.
You've highlighted a whole lot of things in the discussions you've had already. I mean, I think mentally is one of the things that's the big one. I think people are reluctant to even talk about their conditions just because they don't want to be sort of discriminated against or thought badly of, or just because they think it's private, they don't want anybody else to know about it.
Yeah, that was me with my diagnosis. That was me, yeah.
And I think that mental, however way you want to call it, whether it's a mental situation or the way you think about yourself or the way you think about your condition, it's a normal reaction, that people will have. And I think the value of this discussion is just to normalize the discussion that if there's something wrong with you, it doesn't mean that you are wrong. And I think that's important. And when we look at, as Gary mentioned, diabetes in Asia, it is predominantly type 2, and type 2 is a lifestyle disease rather than something that's anatomically wrong with you. And I think there's also this reluctance, if it's a lifestyle disease, am I being a bad person and therefore people are going to hold it against me because my lifestyle's bad? But it's not as cut and dried as that, because the lifestyle is eating healthy diet, maintaining your weight, going for regular checkups, and you can then solve the issue. If you're eating a bad diet, somebody will tell you. If you're putting on a bit of weight, your wife will tell you, or you go to the doctor and the doctor will say, lose a couple of kilos or whatever it is. So that's just the background. I mean, I think where it really differs in Asia is that the profile is different. So in Asia, people are getting diabetes younger. They projected in 2025, there's going to be about 240 million people, not in the whole of Asia, let's say 5 countries, or 6 countries, excluding India, 240 million people with pre-diabetes or diabetes.
Wow.
Okay, so and probably 60% of that is pre-diabetes. They then projecting that in 2035, there's 200 million full diabetics. So not even counting the pre-diabetes, which is also going to increase. Wow. So you're looking at sort of in excess of 300 million people that are diabetic around then, so 10 years from now. And not only the burden of trying to care for those people, but the concern that if people are not aware and not managing themselves and not looking after their health and not doing anything about their lifestyle, the burden on healthcare and their longevity is going to be extremely serious. Despite all of the knowledge, despite all of the people saying what they're saying, despite the doctors saying what you need to do, people need to take an action. You need to say, okay, actually, somebody needs to tell me how to eat better, and I need to listen to them. And a very simple thing was, not eating refined food like white rice or white pasta. Just change that to a whole wheat pasta, whole wheat rice, and all of a sudden makes a huge difference. Just a simple thing like that. So in Asia, everybody eats rice because they always have, but they used to eat a lot of vegetables as well, so it sort of balanced it out. Now they're eating rice plus maybe more meat and fast foods. So that whole diet's changed, and they're you can see them starting to put on weight. So that's the diet thing. Exercise is exercise, but you're not going to lose a lot of weight just on exercise alone. You've got to change both. And then I went for checkups regularly. Every 3 months I decided, right, I'm going to go. I don't care what happens. I've got to go. And my doctor then said, oh, that's really good progress. And I think the progress precipitates more progress. And I think that's why this lifestyle is so important. If you take the little step, do something about your diet, start noticing your weight's changing, do a little bit more exercise. And exercise is so easy. You don't have to belong to a gym. You don't have to play football. You don't have to run marathons. You just need to walk more than 4,000 steps a day. I mean, that's walking around the mall twice. That's all it is. But it's a simple thing like that that makes the difference, and then go to check up regularly so to see that you're improving or not getting worse. And that will make all the difference. So it's little things like that will make all the difference. And if there's one message that just, having come here to meet you guys and hear the phenomenal stories you have, if there's one message that this group can give to Asia or AIA is just take the first step and get checked.
I think it's a perfect time to bring Panos in on that. So what are the things that we can be doing in terms of nutrition for people that might be watching this that are pre-diabetic, that are diabetic, just general lifestyle tips that you'd have for people?
Yeah, that's correct. And it's very individualized, okay? So someone who is not really active, so not doing much exercise, not walking too much, probably starting with a few steps during the day, and then you can always progress that after a week. So, and it's also the nutrition modification, so you can start slowly. So for someone, for example, that is adding 2 teaspoons to your coffee, they can go down to 1.
Right.
And then they can go down to like a sweetener, for example, which is not that much related to your blood sugar levels increase. So it's very individualized. And as you said before, it's the overweight and the obesity which matters. So reducing probably half a kilo or 1 kilo a week. If you think about it, that's almost like 2 kg in a month, which is still very good progress.
Yeah.
So step by step, you can always build upon.
And do you find in your profession, if you do things in small steps, you're more likely to achieve your goal than if you try and do everything in 1 week, say?
100%, because it's about motivation. So we want to see progress.
Right.
So if we see progress, we're motivated and we say, okay, yep, it's working, so let's keep going. Whereas if you take a bigger step, success is not always guaranteed, and then you will lose motivation. Obviously, everyone's different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say small steps, really, really simple steps at the start, and then you can build upon that.
Yeah, it's good advice. Pre-diabetic and pre-diabetic phase. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
So all of the things come into play, but effectively pre-diabetes is when your blood glucose is at the boundary of the upper limit of normal.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to eat healthy, watch your diet, do exercise, lose some weight, but get checked up. And so when your blood glucose is there, at that level, you definitely need to be monitored, because the probability of becoming a diabetic is almost a flick of the finger. So it's really, really critical to do that. When you look at the symptoms, which we spoke about earlier, going to the toilet regularly or more regularly than normal, being more thirsty than normal, really worrisome, tired, feeling tired when you shouldn't feel tired, all those symptoms of diabetes, and that's for insulin-dependent and non-insulin-dependent diabetes. Cuts or injuries taking longer to heal than normal, which people tend to forget, a really worrisome thing. Blurred eyesight all of a sudden out of the blue when you shouldn't have it. Before, insulin-dependent diabetes was 45 upwards. 88% of Chinese ethnic people are now becoming diabetic at 34. 10 years earlier.
34.
It is shocking how bad that is. And the second thing is that one of the major causes in Asia for diabetes is a minuscule increase in weight, because it's not the beer gut that we're talking about. It is just the weight in the inside of the body overall that's almost you can't see. That increase in weight increases the diabetes prevalence. And then the risk of diabetes is 45% higher in smokers. So in Asia, there's a lot of smokers, 45% potential to increase. And increased hunger. So hungry when you're not really. Those are all things that sort of start happening in the pre-diabetes state and should be checked out. So those are problematic.
What I really struggled with was the mental burden of that every day I've got to have sugar on me, carb count, to carry the needles, to change the needles, change the lancet strips, remember to order, not to keep them in the sun, not to keep them too cold. It was so much. I'm a bit of an overthinker anyway, and it was such a burden that my mental health got so bad that I wasn't sleeping. I had horrific dizziness, which I thought there was something wrong with my brain. I even went for a brain scan because I thought there was something wrong with my brain. I had balance tests, but there was nothing wrong with my brain at the time. My balance was fine. I was then told when I went, and I'll be open to admit, I did go to therapy because my mental health, it wasn't depression, it was anxiety I was suffering with. I was told that the dizziness was a direct result for the anxiety I was suffering. So my anxiety was so bad, it was literally causing vertigo. Getting the test done, getting educated about it, and opening up and talking to people released such a burden. And then obviously when I put a post out on social media saying I'd been struggling and with my diabetes and the mental health, the reaction that I saw and knowing that there wasn't anything wrong with me and talking to loved ones helped so much that the anxiety lessened. 10 years ago, I couldn't have dreamed of telling people who were ushers at my wedding, like people who were that close to me, I wasn't telling about it. I don't know why, but I would certainly say, and you're saying people at an age that don't want to talk about it, that don't want to admit they're diabetic, I had all of those symptoms, I had all of those feelings. The best thing I can say is it's not the way to think, because if you do talk to people, if you do open up, and if you do live with your condition and you do it openly in public, you'll be amazed at how positive generally that the reaction is. And I think I just want to end it, Gary, by giving a really sort of inspirational story about your career. I'm right in thinking at half-time during the FA Cup final, you had to inject, did you, because of your sugars? And it didn't prevent you going on to lift the FA Cup for Tottenham. So I'd just like to end by talking about that day, if we can.
Yeah, of course, we played the cup final at Wembley. Obviously, we won't go into the whole stories about cup finals and beating Arsenal in the semi-final. Oh, sorry, I mentioned that. But no, yeah, it was great. Obviously, the semi-final against Arsenal with Gaza free kick and everything. So it was all massive build-up to the final against Nottingham Forest. Yeah. Came off at half-time. And I'm sitting there in the dressing room, come off the dressing room, and Paul Gascoigne's been taken to hospital with a very bad injury. So Che Venables has said, look, guys, keep playing the same way. I think we'll win this game. He's explained that Paul's gone to hospital. I'm sitting there, obviously, with my blood kit testing and everything and doing all. And my chest, it was like, excuse me? It was like high.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, anyway, so I thought, that's crikey, it's a bit higher than it should be.
Yeah.
So I had to get my needles and my injections. I'm sitting there listening to the team talk at half-time, pulling in how much should I take, and then also put it in my leg and did my injections. And all the players can see me doing it. They're used to it. Yeah. They used to be just pulling out and doing it. So yeah, and then an injection at half-time at Wembley. Came out the second half. We got the winner in the second half, and then the final whistle went, and as captain of the club, I was very proud to go up the steps and lift the trophy. Yeah. So
I think you are living proof that you've had huge battles as a diabetic, and I think that story there just epitomises every aspect of being a diabetic. The fact that you're injecting during an iconic halftime team talk at Wembley while Gaza was being taken to hospital, and an hour or two later, you are lifting the FA Cup as a type 1 diabetic for Tottenham. Your condition hasn't prevented you living your dream, so to speak. Andre, I suppose we've covered so much. What are the key takeaways that you'd like viewers and people in Asia to take away from all that we've discussed today?
Well, I mean, I think we've covered so much ground. I think sharing and knowledge, understanding what's going on would be very important. But I think if I were to give 4 words, avoid, prevent, delay, manage. I think if somebody knows about that and can communicate, and then they take actions to do avoiding, prevent getting the diabetes worse, delay the onset, and then manage the disease when they've got, there's no reason why they shouldn't live a normal life, be thought of as healthy, longer, better lives.
Big thanks to AIA as well for this brilliant discussion, and we hope it'll help a lot of people.
Thank you, Smithy. Thanks.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.